We can encourage OGG by sending OGG, by making OGG available on the websites and referring people religiously to media players that will play OGG. And the two that I know of and that I love, three actually, there's VLC Player from videoland.org, there's Miro, which used to be called Democracy Player, I think it's miro.net or something. And then there's, for the Mac, I know there's COG, C-O-G. So, I mean, they're out there. We just need to, especially Videoland and Miro, they run on everything except maybe like OS2 or BIOS. One of those two it doesn't work with. I think it actually works with BIOS. So I mean, like literally, we could send this stuff out. We could say, hey, you don't have the right plugin for this. You need to go download it from this site. It's super easy. Videoland especially auto-detects what operating system you're running. Every time I've gone to their site, whatever kind of OS I'm in, it auto-detects it right away. Even down to the distro a lot of times if I'm running Linux. Okay, so yeah, so that's OGG is good. OGG is really good. When I'm editing not on Final Cut, I'm typically editing in Blender, and Blender doesn't care what you give it. As long as you have a codec in your system, it'll read it and edit it. It's not a problem. So OGG is a great solution. FYI, when you're compressing as a content producer, the workload is on your CPU. So you got a dual core, put it to use. Make it compress. You have the knowledge and the level of enough computers to like spread it across a grid. Go for it, because it's all CPU cycles. Which is why I say, if you are a content producer, start compressing early on in the game. Get stuff compressing. Do compression tests. If you're in bed and your computer isn't in your lap, your computer should be compressing. Otherwise, it's wasted CPU cycles. You're letting the computer sit and sleep. It doesn't need to sleep. Let it be compressing something. And then in the morning, you get to look at what it did. It's kind of exciting in a way. Okay, so how to compress. The easy stuff, especially with one of the primary, I guess, content production platforms, Mac OS. There's a couple of different ways to do it, and they're just all different price ranges. They all boil down to basically the same process, which is the same process that I've just gone over. Bit rate, frame rate, GOP size, frame size, things like that. There's a lot of different solutions out there. Visual Hub is by a little company, and they have a lot of different codecs that they have access to. It's really nice. It's $23.32. There's iSquint, which I think is by Sorensen. I think they have a free version and they have a pro version. There's Autodesk Cleaner, which is like $600, but it's really robust, has a lot of different codecs. There's Compressor, which only comes bundled with Final Cut Studio. That's a lot of money, and it has a different set of codecs. And they all have presets. So if you just want to start out with presets and then start tweaking from there, you're totally able to do that. And compress. That's the way to get to know compression. If you're delivering content, you might as well learn what it looks like when it's compressed at a certain bit rate versus another bit rate, because depending on what that is, it'll look totally different. For instance, when I'm doing video production, nothing ever goes below 2,000 kilobytes per second for bit rate. When we're doing Ubuntu screencasts, which are the online video tutorials for Ubuntu, we're often compressing them at like 300 kilobytes per second. And they look great because they're little screenshots of a desktop. You're clicking around, and it just doesn't require that much information to be sent. So it just really varies on what exactly you're compressing. If you're running GNU Linux, the easiest way to do it is just in the command line with a little program called ffmpeg. And the man page on ffmpeg is one of the best written man pages that I've ever read. It's not one of those man pages that you open and you're just like, what is this stuff? It actually, especially if you kind of understand compression, it kind of makes a little bit of sense. This is an example right here of of what kind of different options are available. And there's a lot of different options, and they even have presets, just like the GUI tool. I mean, they've got things that you can just type in like that much, and it'll just say, yeah, okay, so they want to fit on it. They want it to fit on a CD, so it just kind of sets some presets for you. But otherwise, you're just basically invoking the program. You're telling what input file it is. So there's the -i, that's input, and then there's the name of the file. Obviously, you do the full path of that file name. You're defining what video codec to use. So you have to have that codec installed on your system, just like any other codec. If it's not on your system, you do not have access to it. So this is using a free one called X264, which is compatible with H.264, which is now compatible with Flash, QuickTime, and a lot of other different things. This is the frame size. So if we shot something in high definition, 1920 by 1080 frame pixels, then we could, if we're going to deliver it over the web, we're probably not going to send people HD video, right? It would be a huge file. So we might need to kind of scale it down proportionately. This is the bitrate here. So that's pretty low, but I think this is probably something that I did with an Ubuntu screencast, I'm pretty sure. This is the frame rate, the -R10 frame rate. Keep it small if it's something that doesn't require a whole lot of fluid movement. If it's just something like a slideshow or something, yeah, keep it small. This is the audio codec right here, and again, this is a free version of the AAC format, which is kind of the hot new audio codec right now. This guy right here, the pass2, that's a really important one, and that translates to your GUI tools as well. If you've got a 2-pass encoding going on, your computer is just scanning through that whole video file once to just do an analysis, and then on the second pass, it actually does the encoding. So the quality goes up dramatically with a 2-pass encoding. So if ever you're in GUI and you see an option for 2-pass, go for it. If you're ever in the command line, make sure you include that. Unless it's like a draft that you're just kind of doing just to see the edit or something, and you just want it to be fast, because obviously the 2-pass, makes it a longer process, because it has to go through the file once and it goes through again. There's the audio bit rate, which sample rate rather. 44.100 is the CD quality. 4800 or 48,000 rather is like DVD quality. 32,000 would be not as good as the CD quality. So you kind of have to juggle that around. Don't discount audio. It's important. It takes up room too. So you kind of have to judge, okay, do I have a lot of music, or is this just basically one dude talking? Is there a lot of background noise, or is it just really him alone in the room? Like what quality do you think you really need? And then there's the audio bit rate, which is what you see when you're downloading, MP3s that say, oh, this is encoded at 128 kilobits per second. Oh, this is 192. The higher the better, the bigger the file. And then this final flag right here, the -F. That's saying, okay, what kind of file am I going to output? So it's -F. In this case, I just did a generic MPEG, MPG, name and file.mpg, and that does that. To get it out in my preferred format, which is OGG, you just sudo apt-get install ffmpeg to Fiora, ffmpeg to Fiora, and that's going to give you a program to actually output as OGG. And this, again, it's really similar flags. It's just a couple of differences here and there, but the idea is the same. And again, the man page is really good. You just kind of scan through it, get a feel for what kind of options you've got available to you, and it works really well. Into file. That's it. That's all. Any questions? You got it. Are these examples from the man pages? No, these examples are from, actually they're from an Ubuntu screencast that I did, I think, on how to install Xubuntu or something. I think I just dragged that. I just copied the code and popped it in.